Okay, so let us move on a few years. No, a year, I think, just the next year, isn't it? To Mo Better Blues, Scott.
Yes, in a way, Mo Better Blues revisits the themes of She's Gotta Have It, but from a male point of view, namely that of jazz trumpeter Bleak Gilliam, played by Denzel Washington. His jazz quintet are the star attractions at a nightclub, although Wesley Snipes' Shadow Henderson is causing some friction with his grandstanding solos. The largely ineffectual band manager, Spike Lee's Giant, advises Bleak to have a word, lest Shadow, well, I'm not sure what, mount a coup or something. Meanwhile, Bleak's career is juggled with two women, not like literally, that would require a great deal of upper body strength. Joa Lee's Indigo Downs and Cinda Williams' Clark Betancourt may not know about each other, but they do know that Bleaks' music is the only thing that he's truly committed to. The breakpoints in Bleaks' love life are perhaps obvious, but soon things are fracturing in his career too, with the rest of the band looking for their promised pay rise that Giant has not been able to secure from the club's owners, Mo and Joe Flatbush. Mo and Joe would have been better actually, but Mo and Josh Flatbush, played by John and Nicholas Turturro. This can only accelerate Shadow's designs on putting together his own band, perhaps with Clark as a singer, but ultimately it's a fallout from Giant's gambling addiction that's going to cause issues big enough for Bleak to radically change his outlook on life. To a large degree, this is a film about loyalty, whether that's between Bleak and his old friend Giant, or between the band members, or the lack of it between Bleak and Indigo and Clark, and the consequences of those bonds. It shares a little in common with other Lee joints, in as much as it's throwing a fair amount of thematic content with you. But unlike his next film, Jungle Fever, discussed in podcast Passum, here it's woven into the narrative in a much more satisfying way. Backed up with an almost impeccable series of acting performances. I think this is the last time Lee casts himself in a role of any huge significance, which is good. He can now afford better. There's a lot to like in Mo Better Blues. It's an easy watch with a great soundtrack, interesting characters, and a solid narrative. Not peak Lee, perhaps, but a very solid mid-league finish for the youngster who will surely be one to watch for next season.
I enjoyed this film a great deal. It's less thematically driven than, for instance, Do the Right Thing, and for the next film I'm going to talk about, it's perhaps slightly more kind of mainstream in that regard. But it's just a thoroughly entertaining film. Denzel Washington is great, as you might expect. One particularly good reaction shot in this film I liked too, when Giant comes to tell Bleak that, remember we had this bet when you bought those dresses in Paris that they wouldn't come to the club or wouldn't see each other in the same dress at the same time. And just like the penny dropping. Yeah. And Denzel Washington's face just collapsing. Yeah. Fantastic scene. Fantastic. Yeah, I honestly don't have a lot to say beyond what you said, other than I really enjoyed it. What I would say though is, so one thing I noticed is one thing that I don't like about Spike Lee films, and I'm not sure if it's in his later stuff actually, I need to pay more attention when I come to revisit them, but there's a lot of underscoring in his films, and I hate it because I hate underscoring.
Yeah.
And in this film, it's the one film where I don't mind it for the most part. There are one or two scenes where it's a bit overdone, but because this film's about music and any scenes with Bleak in particular, the music is his life, so the fact there's basically a constant background soundtrack actually works for the film. Yeah. Whereas like all the other films, it's like, I would like to hear what people are saying, please turn it down. Which I think was a big problem we had with Jungle Fever, now that I recall.
Yes, it was.
There's a scene where Wesley Snipes is talking to his wife in that closet, and like you can't hear a word they're saying because the underscoring's so bad. Yeah. So this is a trait I do not care for in Spike Lee's films. It's one of only two repeating issues I have, the other of which I will come to in the next film. But it's but yeah, in this film it kind of works actually. It makes sense. The only issue other than that I had with this film is that I felt that the end was kind of rushed. It's building so nicely. Then it gets to the point where he can't play again when he tries to play on stage with Shadow. He goes out into the rain, gets soaked, almost accosts Joa Lee's character. And then suddenly it's like 4 years just accelerate in a kind of weirdly fast montage, and it's just like, why did that just doesn't fit?
Yeah, I mean the whole ending. I mean, just sort of before that, just before he gets on stage, that's been another time jump of like the best part of a year or something like that. and it leads into an ending that I'm not altogether sure that Bleak deserves to get. Certainly on the basis of what's happened, and yeah, I'd love to know a bit more of the character motivations between Indigo deciding to take Bleak back in after all this, because it's. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's explained it quite well enough at that point. But
so it feels like there was like a limitation in the length of the script, and he'd written all the script up to this point, and then had to do the rest of it in 2 pages.
Yeah,
and it's almost like it's 2 pages presented on screen.
Yeah,
it's the actual end makes sense. It's like he's kind of being like his father and how he grew up, but without being quite so hard on the kid.
Yeah,
right, and that's okay. Like maybe a history repeating or like being like your father and stuff like that. Okay. But all the stuff up between that, between the turn up at Indigo's apartment and that, it doesn't. I don't buy it, and it's literally rushed. It just it flies through it in the film, and because the rest of it is so enjoyable, I was really, really just sitting, smiling through this whole film, really enjoying it. That it stands out so much because it almost feels amateurish.
Yes,
given how competent the rest of the film is, it's very strange.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, another one highly recommended, though. It's very enjoyable.
Yes. Small blemish, but wouldn't let that get in the way of giving it a look out.